Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the National Headquarters of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States here in beautiful Kansas City, Missouri. I'm Fritz Michalczyk, the National Commander-in-Chief of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I'm very excited to kick off this media event in support of the PACT Act, promised to address comprehensive toxics. The House of Representatives passed the PACT Act by a large margin back in March. It's up to the Senate now to do its job and get this bill to the President. And yes, the 4 senators from Missouri and Kansas need to listen to us today. Yeah. That was good. I like that. One person is here. Okay. This is a rally also, so you can chime in. You're going to hear from several speakers today, and they're behind me right now. But I'd like to tee up a few things before we get started. The PACT Act will address toxic exposure of all kinds for all veterans, past, present, and future. Atomic veterans, Vietnam veterans, Gulf War, K2, all post 9/11 veterans. And this comprehensive bill that sets a framework for the future. There will be no more reinventing the wheel every time veterans are harmed in the service of their country. Now, some senators will tell you they're against the PACT Act because it costs too much and it will put too much work on the VA. To those, I say that's a meaningless excuse. You have to do the right thing. Don't fall back on excuses. Congress has spent over $6 trillion on the global war on terror. $6 trillion. Okay, no, that's okay. Now they can hear me. Okay, you should have said that earlier. I'll start over. No, that's right. No, we won't start over. We'll keep going because the best is yet to come, I promise. But Congress has spent over $6 trillion in the global war on terror. The PACT Act will only cost $200 billion. Now, maybe that does sound like a lot, and I guess $1 billion is a lot. However, $200 billion is less than 4% of $6 trillion. And that's the amount that we have spent fighting the current wars. The cost of war must include the cost of taking care of our injured and sick veterans. As for the excuse that a heavy workload at the VA will be caused if we pass the PACT Act, well, they think that making veterans wait too long is a problem. Isn't it better to actually be in a line waiting for something than to not have a line exist at all? Veterans have waited far too long for the health care that they have earned. It's not a gimme. Every veteran who has been in harm's way has earned the right to health care. And to our esteemed senators, pass the PACT Act now. Honor your commitment to the veterans that you sent off to fight your wars. Don't let us continue to die while you debate. The cost of war must include the cost of peace. I've had my short opportunity, but now it is my great pleasure to pass the microphone to a co-sponsor of the PACT Act in our House, Congressman Sharice Davids from the great state of Kansas.
Now we'll have to bring the mic back down. And then I've messed this thing up. I'm sorry. Okay. Don't worry, I'm better at legislating than I am at these mics. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you to Commander Michalczyk for he told me to call him Fritz, but I was like, I can't do that. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you to everyone who's here today with us for your advocacy on this issue. Thank you to our VSOs who are here to really push for and encourage everyone else to be as supportive as we all are on this issue. Also, thank you to our veterans who are here today from both sides of the state line. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your continued efforts to fight for what's right. And you know, the cost of war and the price of peace is something that I am absolutely going to take away from today. Thank you for your words earlier, Commander. So a couple of things I want to just share today. One, my mom is here today. She is a 20-year Army veteran. And she is, yeah. And absolutely showed me the value of service, service to your community, service to our country. And she did that while raising my two brothers and I on her own. And she's clearly a strong woman. I feel like I do have to say she was a drill sergeant. And I've got the push-ups to prove it. So she comes with a level of strength and leadership that helps inform why I know in my heart of hearts that it is so important for us to do the right thing, to support our veterans. So when I proudly voted to pass the Honoring Our PACT Act last month, I absolutely was thinking about her and so many of the folks who are here with us today, about the veterans who have been coming to our office looking for help and support with the benefits that have been earned, as was stated earlier, but are still having difficulty accessing. And after so many people here and who are out in our community right now have sacrificed, have demonstrated bravery, have committed so much time and effort in service of our country, to only come home and have to prove that they've earned that support, it's unacceptable. And we have to do better. This is not just honoring what we've promised, but honoring what's right and what needs to be done. We made that pact with our veterans when the answer to the call for service was given. And I'm here today to lend my voice and support in every way that I can. I'm joining the over 40 veterans service organizations that have come together in support of this bill to say to all of our senators, please bring this to the floor of the Senate and vote to pass the Honoring Our PACT Act. I'm here to join the millions of toxic exposed veterans who have struggled in silence, who have felt ignored and unheard, and whose families have grieved alongside them. We see you. The folks that are here today hear you and see you. We're going to honor our commitment to you in every way that we can. We're taking this fight to the Senate. I hope that my colleagues on the Senate side will join us and do the right thing. I'm so grateful to be able to join you all today as you push forward on this important issue. And I will stop there. Members of Congress carry on too long. So I'm gonna welcome now Tom Porter with Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America.
Good, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you for being everybody. Good morning. Thank you to National Commander Michalczyk for having us here today. It's really important. It's an honor to stand alongside everybody here. I want to start out by saying that Commander Michalczyk, he made a powerful testimony a few weeks ago before a joint hearing of the House and Senate VA Committee, strongly talking about the need to pass this legislation, and I think he did a great job. And so I think he deserves a round of applause for standing up for us like that. Again, this bill, again, would finally bring VA health and disability benefits to veterans. As simple as that. It's a big lift, but it has to be done. I'm Tom Porter. I'm here on behalf of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. what happened to me is when I've served in both the Middle East and in Afghanistan for the Navy. And in my first week of arriving in Afghanistan, the pollution was so bad that my lungs had an allergic reaction to the pollution. In Kabul, it's a lot of it's airborne feces because they don't have a modern sewage system there in Kabul. So you're literally breathing it in the air. So my lungs filled up with fluid and I had a hard time breathing. So I stayed the rest of the year on medications there. But when I got back, I got diagnosed with asthma. And there's a lot of other folks that have it worse than me. Many with debilitating illnesses, many with cancers, and then too many of us already know that there are too many that have already died, including some friends of ours very recently on this issue. So that's what we're doing here. That's why we're here. And the PACT Act that you've heard recently passed the House. Not everybody voted for it. Unfortunately, not everybody did. And fortunately, is the Congresswoman Davids, she was one of the many that did vote for it. So I appreciate her being here. The one member of Congress is standing here with us. And as you know, members of Congress like to stand with veterans for pictures on Veterans Day and other patriotic holidays. But when it comes to having to actually put some work behind it and some effort, you don't often see everybody lining up behind us for the pictures. So I appreciate her being here with us today because she didn't have to. And now it's the Senate's turn to pass it, and that's why we're here today, is to tell the Senate that it's their turn to pick up this bill and pass it this next coming month before they take off to go campaign for this next election. You've heard it already discussed before, there's talk about this being not fiscally responsible, and that there's too long of a line that this legislation would establish for veterans and waiting for their benefits. Well, it is responsible because it's the PACT. That's the title of the bill. It's keeping up our end of the bargain when we send veterans military downrange. They get injured, we take care of them when they come home. Waiting in line, I think we've already heard it before, that I think veterans would much rather there be a line than there be no line. And so that's why we have to do this today. One more thing on some additional on fiscally responsible, that notion. I was on Capitol Hill working for the member of Congress that would be the House Armed Services Committee chairman on 9/11. So I saw the reaction of the people with stars in their shoulders coming into the office, talking to us about the threat and what it's going to take for us to go and fight against those that struck us. Not one time did I hear anybody say, you know, I'm not sure if this is going to be fiscally responsible to go fight Al-Qaeda. They didn't say that. And they wouldn't have said that because it's the right thing to do to go and pay the bills later. Congress said we're going to do whatever it takes because that's what should be done. Then, of course, they passed a massive tax cut and then spent $6 trillion on a credit card. But now they're talking about being fiscally responsible when it's convenient to them. When my friends got orders, many of you here, when you got orders to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, North Africa, anywhere else you've been deployed to, did any of you go to your commander and say, excuse me, sir, I'm not sure if this is fiscally responsible? Did you say that? No. No, you didn't. You just went because it was the right thing to do. You just went, you didn't think about what was generally, most people I know didn't think about breathing in burn pits. You were afraid of getting shot or blown up and if your family was going to be okay when you got back. But you did think that when you got back that people were going to take care of you. And that's why we're here today, because there are some people that don't want to hold up their end of the responsibility for taking care of people when they got back. So the Congresswoman said that there was a letter with 40 signatures of 40 groups. We sent that to the Hill before the House vote. You all be happy to know that just a couple days ago, we sent a letter to the Senate with 65 veterans and military organizations on it, calling for a vote now. And so that's the chore for everybody here, is to follow up on that and go out and call your senator, especially those that may be on the fence, but to be on the safe side, everybody here should call their senator and tell them that you need them to pass the PACT Act, and not something short of that, not something a tenth or a hundredth of the investment of the PACT Act. We need the PACT Act passed. Thank you very much for coming. I'm sorry I missed my role here. Kevin, step on up.
Get him, Kevin.
All right. I wrote my speech down so my wife wouldn't be embarrassed when I do this, so I just want to let you all know that right now as I was flying in the plane on my way to Kansas City. I hope you all get a chance and an opportunity to take a big zoom picture of all the people behind us right now, because those are the ones that are making this rally successful. My name is Kevin Hensley. I'm an Air Force veteran. I was deployed 8 times to the Middle East, and out of those 8 times, 4 of those locations operated open-air burn pits. In 2017, I was diagnosed with constrictor bronchiolitis, a terminal lung disease, after a lung biopsy performed in Vanderbilt University by Dr. Robert Miller. I would like to thank my family for their love and support, the VFW leadership here at headquarters, and the Department of Michigan, along with my post 1138 in Monroe, Michigan, for their support, guidance, and opportunity to speak here today. I'm so proud of these veteran service organizations and the veterans agencies on behalf of supporting the only legislation that provides presumptive benefits called Honoring Our PACT Act. There are 2 groups I would like to reach today: the United States Senate and our veterans and family members. To the senators, I love that sound. Okay. I asked you to take a look at these VSOs, veteran service organizations, these veterans agencies that are here today. We have all come together and continued our service as we did on the battlefield to support our brothers and sisters, those that have died due to toxic exposure and those that are sick from being exposed. You all have a great opportunity and a responsibility to pass the Honoring Our PACT Act and to get it to the President's desk for his signature. A promise made, or to the veterans and the family members, a promise made is a promise kept. With the veterans, with this veteran right here, holding on to his one of his last breaths. The names will be honored: Nathan Denrider, Robert Wooten, Travis Opterman, and Larry Hauser. They are just 4, but they are 4 that served, and they died from cancer as a result of toxic exposure. To the veterans and the families and the rest of America, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is a veteran and American issue. Your voice and your vote matter. Continue to call, continue to write, and continue to email your senators. I want to share a little story with you. At the last very minute, a congressman from Michigan was on his way walking to the House floor to vote on the PACT Act. We had a Zoom call with this individual on his way as he was getting ready to vote. For the last 10 months or so, as the PACT Act has been in legislation, we were told no. He was going to vote no. This was ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. This was too hurried. This would cost too much. This would backlog the VA. He was one of 4 out of 34 that voted yes for the PACT Act on March 3rd. That's right. That's right. To Senator Moran and the rest of the U.S. Senate, veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan and other locations are sick and they are dying and have been poisoned by service to this nation. Families are watching their loved ones come through this process helpless and afraid. Our nation, our veterans, our military, and our families deserve better. Our nation has a moral obligation to ensure the health and welfare and dignity for quality care, health care and benefits owed to them because of illnesses caused by their service to this nation. Jon Stewart, thank you for being here and continued advocacy from 9/11 for the first responders and now the 3.5 million veterans who were exposed to toxins while serving. Burn Pit 360, Rosie and Leroy Torres, and all the members and advocates and families, and my back home support for Downriver for Veterans and KU Radio. God bless you all, and thank you very much. And with that, I will hand it over to Brett Whitten from Wounded Warrior Project.
Good afternoon. I'm Brent Whitten with the Wounded Warrior Project, and I'm from right down the road in Topeka, Kansas. I want to first thank the VFW for hosting this event today, and all the other VSOs and veterans who are here to discuss this critical issue, the health consequences of burn pits and other military toxic exposures on all generations. Like many others here today, I am a post 9/11 veteran. I was in the Army and served in Iraq as an infantryman. When you're over there, you think about many dangers, such as roadside bombs or enemy fire. And you don't just think about yourself, but instead you think about the people that are serving with you on your left and your right. What you do not really think about are the burn pits, the fumes, or the countless other toxins that you are constantly inhaling. They were always just there, and they become part of your combat life. When I was downrange in Iraq, there was a constant ash and smoke that hovered around our main base in Baghdad, as the base was next to a large local landfill and burn pits. When others in my platoon and I would blow our noses, it would sometimes be black due to all the debris in the air. This was just in addition to the missions that we routinely conducted around toxic waste areas and burning debris that we conducted with our combat operations outside the wire. Thousands and thousands of veterans have very similar stories of being constantly exposed to dangerous smoke, toxins, and particles and other hazards. Now, far too many have disabling respiratory diseases, cancer, and other serious health problems. Worse, many are struggling to receive the health care benefits they need because they cannot prove their conditions or are connected to their service. These numbers are only continuing to grow as more and more veterans get diagnosed with various deadly conditions every day. But the science is in. Unsurprisingly, constantly breathing smoke from a pit the size of a football field with burning waste doused in jet fuel causes these health problems. That is why burn pits are illegal in the United States, because we know about the severe health consequences. But still, combat operations require that we operate in the harshest environments. So that's the situation that veterans have been facing for the past 20 years. What's the good news? We have a bill that would finally provide the care and benefits that veterans with toxic illnesses need and earned. The Honoring Our PACT Act. And we are almost there. The House has passed it. The VA has endorsed it. Every veterans organization supports it. We do not know of a single group that opposes it. So we are asking every United States Senator to vote yes when the bill goes to the Senate in the near future. We risk our lives, limbs, and health defending this country. And the promise was made that if we did not come back the same, our wounds, injuries, or illnesses would be cared for. And we could depend on our leaders to honor that promise. Right now, that promise is being broken for far too many veterans with toxic illnesses. It has been said that the measure of any society can be found in the manner in which it treats and cares for those who have so nobly placed themselves in harm's way, so that its people may live free and secure. We are proud to stand here today with so many of our fellow veterans to ask the Senate to keep their promise and pass the Honoring Our PACT Act. Thank you for your time today. Please allow me to introduce Will Wisner with Burn Pits 360.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Will Wisner. I'm a member of the Board of Directors for Burn Pits 360. I'm also the Executive Director for another nonprofit called the Grunt Style Foundation. And I am very honored to be able to come and talk before you all today. I have no prepared remarks. I'm just going to speak from the heart. I've been doing this game a long time. I've been in this battle about 10 years. And there's finally some hope. And there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And so today I want to talk to you about two things. I want to talk to you about allies and heroes, and I'm going to start with heroes. You know, they say one of the worst curses you can ever have is to meet your heroes. Well, luckily I think I'm the exception to that rule. I have been very privileged to be able to work with some of the men and women in this country that I hold in the highest esteem. Number one, foremost amongst them, Rosie Torres, who's our executive director at Burn Pits 360. If it were not for Rosie Torres, we would not be standing here today. Because I'm here to tell you, 10 years ago, there wasn't very many of us trying to engage in this fight. It's been a sad road. You know, Kevin mentioned two names. It's weird how small of a community we truly are. We less than 1% of this country. He listed two names, Hauser and Opperman. I met those individuals before they passed. It's a very similar story to a lot of the individuals that I've been lucky enough to meet over time. They all unroll kind of the same way, at least in the line of work that I'm in with Burn Pits 360, being one of a very few voices out talking about this. Generally, these families, these individuals come to us looking for answers, and they come to us when it's too late. Usually they're in a terminal stage of life. I got a phone call from Mr. Opperman's mother saying, this has happened. We now have heard about this thing with burn pits and toxic exposure. We've done some research. We had no idea. What can you do for us? And we do what we can. But it's not enough. Mr. Hauser's mother came, same situation. What can you do for us? We just found out about this. We didn't know. Our doctors told us this was a somatoform disorder. This was something resulting from what they call a moral compass injury, which is to say that these veterans have seen or done something that is so contrary to their sense of right and wrong that it shatters their psyche, which causes them to manifest fake illnesses and phantom illnesses. Once you are categorized in that psychological category from the VA, you're stuck there. After you have that designation, they're going to be able to clear their backlog of people that they need to see in the shortest, most direct way they can, and that's to provide what we so affectionately call in the veteran community as zombie dope. They're going to give you pills to treat these symptoms of your mind, because they're not real. Well, that doesn't work. You still have these physiological ailments, so they dial in your medication. Systems persist. You go back to your doctor. Well, what you had before was not related to any actual illness. This is a side effect of these pills. Let's adjust your medication. Let's do this again. So you do. Then you come back again a third time. Same effect. Then you come back a fourth time. But this time they go, oh, hey, I get it. I see what's going on. You're a dirty pill seeker. So now you're crazy, and you're crazy because you're a bad person, and now you're a pill seeker. This is an authority figure in your life. This is your healthcare provider telling you this. You have no choice but to convey this to your family, to your wife, who looks at you with different eyes, to your parents, who look at you with different eyes, and you look into the mirror and see yourself through different eyes, and you start to question your own sanity. As these toxins continue to ravage your body, you're forced to confront the reality of, I just can't do this work anymore. It's not long before you're moving back home into your mom and dad's basement with your wife and your kid. They're looking at you trying to wonder what's going on. You're looking at yourself trying to figure out what's going on. Your sense of self-esteem is gone. It's not long before financial pressures and all these other stressors of life compound. And when your health is not good, of course, stress only becomes that much more worse. Pretty soon your wife leaves, takes your son, takes your daughter. You're feeling worthless. It's a pretty easy slide into those dark places where you join the ranks of the 22 veterans a day that kill themselves. These veterans are looking for care are being betrayed by the very people who have an oath to care for he who has borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan. This is not right. I want to talk about another hero today. I want to talk about Jon Stewart real quickly, because this man is a hero of mine. We were together 4 days ago in North Carolina doing another one of these rallies. Jon had, his airplane had some mechanical problems. Didn't look like he was going to be able to make it. We had a crowd about this size assembled. Jon called, said, hey, can we push this tomorrow? Can we delay? What can we do? Nah, we've got a crowd. You know, we need to do this. The man rented a helicopter and flew all the way from New York to North Carolina in what, like 3.5 hours, something like that? I have no idea how a helicopter can move that kind of distance. But that's the level of commitment that this man has. I've been in this fight for 10 years. It wasn't until we had Jon Stewart stand up with us and lend us his platform and his voice to where people started to take notice. So I applaud Jon, and I just want to give a round of applause to Jon for the commitment that he's done. On that same note, there's a friend of mine that I brought with me from St. Louis that I've recently met. Also a similar story. Hey, I had no idea this is what was going on with me. I always wondered. I knew it couldn't have been healthy to breathe this toxic smoke, but I had no idea. His first inkling of what was really going on, Jon Stewart's program, Problem with Jon Stewart. I think it premiered last September. He saw that episode. This man's saving lives. And that brings me to allies. One of my favorite quotes is from Winston Churchill. He said, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. And that's where we're at. It's time to do the right thing. We've been waiting. We've been waiting. We've been holding the ground. We know nobody's coming to help, so we're going to have to rely on those veterans out there to stand up and take the lead on this, because you guys, your presence here today is saving lives. Because there's a lot of people out there like my friend Dan. They have no idea what's going on, and they're wondering, they're being gaslit in all these different areas. But now people are starting to take notice through the efforts of people like Rosie Torres and Jon Stewart, and the VFW, DAV, Wounded Warrior Project, IAVA. These are our allies. Nobody's coming to help. We have to help ourselves. The veteran community has rallied. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have. I'd like to introduce Jim Bunker from Disabled American Veterans. Thank you very much.
Sometimes I wonder what's left to be said. We've heard so many great speakers already. My name's Jim Bunker. I'm with the Disabled American Veterans. I'm also a life member with the VFW, so please no tomatoes. And that honoring the PACT Act is very personal to me, as it is to every one of the veterans who spoke here and those of you who are out here in front of you. When I hear a senator or a congressman ask me, well, we can't afford this, I ask them, or how can you not afford taking care of our veterans? This is just another cost of going to war. If we don't take care of these veterans and pass the PACT Act, what are you doing? You're telling these veterans they don't matter. You don't care about them. You're going to leave them alone. They got to suffer alone. You're not going to give them the benefits they earn. You're not going to take care of them financially or for their health. And where do you leave them when you don't do this, Senator? You're going to leave them out on the streets. You're going to leave them homeless. You're going to leave them in a soup line and not in the veterans' health care line. You're going to leave them broken homes, and then again they become number one of 22. We don't want that, Senator. We want you to support this bill. We want you to take care of those who went forward and put their lives on the line to support the missions and the wars you've sent them to. And there is no cost too great than one life out here. We all deserve to be taken care of. And that is true. Remind all your senators out there that it is worth the cost to save each one of us. They want to reduce suicide. This is another way to reduce suicide among veterans. Remind them of that. This act does a lot of things to help veterans. It's adding many presumptives. Presumptives not only for those of us who served in Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. It's adding presumptives for Vietnam veterans too. One of the things that many veterans who came before the Research Advisory Committee for Gulf War illness that I once served on has been to train doctors. This act is forcing that to happen. and hopefully they get trained properly to know about the toxins that we were exposed to and what they're going to do to our bodies. Too often, veterans who were exposed to the multiple toxins that we were seeing in the wars, especially these wars since 1990, haven't a clue. Not only do they not have clues of what toxin can do, they don't have a clue of what toxins we were exposed to. I spent a time in the war with the 1st Infantry Division. We had 20-some toxins we were exposed to. We had the vapors from the oil wells raining down on us, which caused a 2-inch crust on the sands from all that crap. Oil well is one of the most deadliest neurotoxins out there. There came a point out there where not only I was sick, some of the men in my battalion was sick, but I had seizures. I got medevaced out. I still to this day suffer since then of chronic migraines, so debilitating. I had migraines that laid me out flat 2 to 3 times a week. A lot of medications were tried on me and all that. Migraines is one of the signature illnesses, not only for those of us in Desert Storm, but every one of the Iraq, Afghan veterans out there and all the other toxic exposed veterans. Has the VA ever made a presumptive out of this? Hell no, they haven't. They blow it off. Even though when Aaron Durst's study that came out in 2016, which was the 3rd one and 3, continued to show that we who deployed have migraines at 3 times the rate. So hopefully in this bill where it says they're going to change the way they use presumptives, they'll relook at this along with all the other ones. When you're exposed to over 20 different toxins out there, and that you can't pick out one toxin to say this did or didn't do this. You need to use epidemiological studies, and this act is going to take care of that for us veterans. The VA needs to say, yeah, we may not have the resources, but then again, that's what we have community care for. If we don't have a hospital for this veteran, we're going to put them out on community care and take care of these veterans. That's our job 1, is taking care of these veterans. Remind the senators their job 1 is taking care of us who got sick while we were in war. And that is what we are, to take care of the families and keep the families together. And that's what this act is going to do, is keep our families together and to prevent suicide. Thank you. Next is Christina with the VFW.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me in the back? Can you cheer if you can hear me in the back? Yeah. My name is Christina Keenan. I work for the VFW in Washington, D.C. I'm here with fellow veterans, their families, and supporters, voters from both Missouri and Kansas. Your voices must be heard all the way to our nation's capital, right here in Kansas. Your senators need to hear from their constituents that the PACT Act is the right thing to do for veterans. They must support this life-saving, comprehensive toxic exposure legislation. There's no time to waste. Every day that delays the passage of the PACT Act, more veterans become sick and die. I urge you, those here, those at home, to let your senators know that you demand that they support the PACT Act. Tell Senators Moran and Marshall, Senators Hawley and Blunt to support the PACT Act now. We've made it very easy for you to do just that. Everyone today needs to go to vfw.org/PACT or scan the QR code right here in front of the podium. It'll bring you to an online petition that will go straight to your senator's offices. It takes 30 seconds to fill out this form and send it to your senators. If you're a veteran, if you support veterans, if you support our troops, show your support by sending this message to your senators today. Cheer if you're going to do this today. We need to do this today. We all of us in this country have the opportunity to tell our elected officials how important this is to us. Again, go to vfw.org/PACT to send this message to your senators today. Let your voices be heard. Thank you. And last but very not least, veteran advocate and former host of The Daily Show, Mr. Jon Stewart.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for this lovely turnout. We are halfway through our program. I hope you brought lunch, because I'm from the New Jersey, New York area. This is my first time in Kansas City, Missouri, and I am very uncomfortable with how nice you are. Quite frankly, it seems sarcastic. There's a lot of, how you doing? And I just think, like, you want a piece of this? Is that what you're saying? Let's do this. I'm honored to be here with all these veteran service organizations, and the entire veterans community stands behind this. And as I look around, man, it's very moving to see generations of veterans and their families coming out to support this long overdue toxic exposure bill. But it's also a reminder of how the veterans community bears the brunt of our war effort. A very small percentage of our society serves in the military. And this very small percentage bears this burden by themselves, their families, their caregivers, and it is designed that way. Your burden is kept from society as a whole so that our political leaders have more leeway to act in the callous manner that they do towards you when you need support. Everybody supports the troops. You go to Chili's right now, I guarantee you get 10% off on an appetizer. You go to IHOP. They'll probably put a little extra sausage on that plate for you, sir. Thank you for your service. Oh, well, thank you. I have pancreatic cancer because I slept next to a burn pit. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. But there you go. Our political leaders have let you down. And this is the lowest hanging fruit of a society. This is an existential question for a society. If you cannot take care of the people who take care of us, then who are we? What are we? We are nothing. It's an embarrassment. These people have fought 15 years. I see Vietnam veterans out here who went through the same struggle with Agent Orange, and here we are forcing it now on our Gulf War veterans, on our Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. It's a moral outrage. And man, do they take the... Folks, they just want to get it right. They just want to make sure it's right. They just want to take their time. 15 years, 20 years, we just want to get it right. Delay, deny, hope you die. That's what this is. It's a strategy. The VA shouldn't be an insurance company that has an adversarial relationship that looks at the veteran like you're trying to put one over on them. It's quite a scam you guys got going. Hey man, you know what? Here's how I'm going to get on Easy Street. I'm going to get deployed 5 times in the war on terror. I'm going to leave my family. I'm going to sacrifice everything that I hold dear and put my life on the line for this country. And then I'm going to come home, dig this, here's how it's going to go. I'm going to wait 7, 8 years for that good toxic exposure cancer to develop. And then I'm going to head to the VA and get that sweet, sweet disability green. It's nonsense. And the money of it, let me put it in context for you. You know, Commander mentioned it earlier, $200 billion. It's a lot of money. That's over 10 years, and that's the CBO, which always outrageously inflates what the cost is going to be. So let's put that in perspective. $200 billion over 10 years. Guess how much we give defense contractors every year? $400 billion. Where's the scrutiny on Raytheon? Where's the scrutiny on McDonnell Douglas? Where's the scrutiny on those companies? Never happens. The Pentagon has failed every audit they've ever done. But I'll tell you, you show up to that office and you can't breathe, by God, they're going to put you under the microscope. You got to be your own doctor, your own lawyer, your own advocate. 6 weeks ago, I testified in front of the House Veterans Affairs Committee with a Marine captain by the name of Kate Hendricks, a brilliantly brave woman who served this country, came home, became a doctor, started a family, got breast cancer that was attributed to her exposure to burn pits. Kate Hendricks spent 7 years fighting the VA, fighting the United States government to get them to recognize that sleeping next to plastics and trash and body parts and ammunition covered in jet fuel and burned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week may be bad for your health. 7 years. Two weeks after that testimony, she went into hospice. Kate passed away 2 weeks ago. So you go ahead and you wait. Take your time, Congress. We have people here that sacrificed everything to defend this country, and we are treating them like the trash that is burned in those pits. We are 9 senators away from getting this done. That's it. And I'll tell you the truth, it's 9 Republican senators. I really don't care about politics. It's not. 174 Republicans voted against us in the House. We're 9 away. Senator Moran of Kansas, I actually love that guy. He's worked really hard on this, but it's time to get on board. Senator Marshall, he supported the Warfighters Act. That's awesome. It's time to get on board. Hawley, Bunt, I honestly don't know what to say. But here's what I will tell you. You can't be America first if you keep putting our veterans last. And that's what you've been doing. So if you think we're not coming to your state and we're not coming to your district until we get this done, you are dead wrong, buddy. Because this is going to be public, and the world and the country is going to know where you stand. So you're going to stand with the entire veterans community, or are you going to stand alone for some screwed up, non-existent reason? That's what we're doing here, and I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank these guys enough. The inspiration that I get from watching them every day, but damn, I am tired of funerals and friends and suffering. And this bill doesn't end their suffering, but it takes away that one ridiculous burden that we have placed on them, and it ends now. Yes. Thank you all very much for being here. I would like to ask the media to please talk to the individuals that spoke here today, and please talk to the individuals that have served this country and are suffering with these illnesses and get their stories out there, because a friend of mine who's a writer named Takara Malik, she told me her whole family serves. She said, be careful when people call you a hero, because that means they're okay with letting you die. These people aren't just heroes. They're fathers and mothers and sons and daughters and uncles and brothers and sisters and aunts. See them as such. And let's do this. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for showing up today. I hope you've learned something. I hope you're going to contact your senators and tell them to get behind this. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. As I like to say, the time is now to pass the Honoring Our PACT Act. Thank you very much.